Imagine stepping into a high-stakes final exam. The clock on the wall is ticking down, loudly, relentlessly.
Oh, yeah, that classic nightmare scenario.
Right, totally. Your palms are sweating, your heart is racing, and the panic is just really setting in. But what if that feeling of crushing anxiety wasn't just like a biological response?
Meaning, what if it's doing something more?
Exactly. What if your intense stress was actually acting as a localized observer effect, like literally collapsing the quantum wave function of the room and forcing time to march forward in this rigid, punishing straight line?
Wow, so you're saying time only behaves like a cage because your current state of mind is demanding that it does?
Yes. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are exploring a reality where the fundamental laws of physics are actively being rewritten by the human mind.
It's such a wild concept.
It really is. We are stepping into the first chapter of quantum conscious time dilation, Midnight Café. And our mission today is to examine how this story takes these massive concepts, like quantum superposition and the subjective nature of time, and grounds them in the deeply relatable struggles of a burnt-out college student.
A student who might just be, a literal architect of space-time.
Right. So let's jump in. The brilliance of this first chapter, I mean, it doesn't just tell a fantasy story about people who can time travel.
No, not at all. It constructs this entire framework where consciousness is the underlying fabric of the universe. It asks you to consider whether the rigid structures of our modern lives are actually overriding our innate ability to navigate reality.
And to set that up, the author opens with a prologue that fundamentally dismantles our understanding of classical physics.
Totally dismantles it.
We're introduced to this narrator named Ray Rad. He calls himself a scribbler of strange ideas and suspicious
I
metaphors.
love that description.
Right. And he places us in a deeply unsettling cafe. The walls are covered in clocks, but none of them are ticking.
Which is creepy right off the bat.
Yeah, and the chalkboard is scrawled with equations and doodles of laughing particles. But the most striking detail is the smell. It's this heavy, clashing mixture of roasted espresso and sharp, metallic ozone.
And that olfactory detail is just a perfect physical manifestation of the central conflict.
How so?
Well, the espresso grounds us in the mundane classical world, right? The
Yep.
everyday reality of a coffee shop.
Sure.
But the ozone, that's the scent of ionized air. It signals high-energy electrical discharge. So it's basically telling the listener that the local environment is highly volatile. It's existing in a state of unnatural charged potential.
Wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And sitting right in the middle of this charged potential are two historical heavyweights, Isaac Newton and Richard Feynman.
Yeah, and the author doesn't just use them as set dressing. They're actively debating the nature of reality.
Right. Newton is treating time, as he always did, as an absolute mathematical constant. He's muttering about the degradation of intellectual decorum while scribbling vectors.
Typical Newton.
Exactly. And across from him, Feynman is balancing a sugar packet, grinning like he just pranked the multiverse. He represents the quantum world of path integrals, where, a particle takes every possible route through space-time simultaneously until it's observed.
And their dialogue perfectly encapsulates that friction between classical and quantum mechanics. Newton says belief is irrelevant, time is a function.
Arguing for a deterministic universe.
Exactly. But Feynman immediately counters with, but whose function?
Oh, that's good.
Right? That three-word question introduces the observer. It implies that the mathematical function governing time requires a conscious participant to actually define its parameters.
Okay, let's unpack this before they can even resolve that argument. This girl named River bursts through the door. She's covered in snow, slams 3 pages of notes onto the table, and announces to these two titans of science, I think we got the math wrong.
It's such a bold entrance.
Right. So by having River interrupt the foundational architects of our physical laws to say the math is wrong, what is the author actually signaling to us about River's importance?
What's fascinating here is that mathematics, by its very nature, relies on an objective, detached observer.
Right. It assumes the universe is the same whether we're looking or not.
Exactly. But by having River confidently state that the math is wrong, the narrative establishes that in this universe, subjective consciousness cannot be separated from the equation. River isn't just pointing out a calculation error, she represents the missing variable. The mathematical models fail because they don't account for a mind that can actively alter the flow of time.
That is wild.
Oh.
And right after that grand cosmic prologue, we abruptly crash into the harsh reality of River's actual life.
Yeah, a very jarring transition.
Totally. We're pulled out of the metaphysical cafe and dropped into a super messy dorm room during finals week. River is sitting on her bed, wrapped in fluffy pajamas. There are string lights, curled up notes everywhere, and a half-burned lavender candle.
It's just a classic stressed college student vibe.
Exactly. She is facing an organic chemistry final, and she is absolutely suffocating under the pressure.
Which, by the way, organic chemistry is a brilliant choice of subject matter for this scene.
Why do you say that?
Because it's a discipline defined by rigid rules. You've got precise molecular bonding, strict deterministic outcomes. It is the absolute antithesis of quantum fluidity.
Oh, that's such a great point.
Mhm.
And during this scene, she's talking to her boyfriend, Henry, and casually drops this massive reveal. She says they haven't been able to time travel since they left home.
Yeah, they are what the story calls travelers.
Right. Beings who used to navigate space-time using their consciousness. But now they're entirely stuck. They can't even use their abilities to peek at an exam. But I have to say, I am genuinely struggling with the logic of this universe a bit. Well, it's almost like having a superpower that runs on a specific Wi-Fi network, right? And by going to college, they've completely lost the signal. If River is this cosmic being, why is she letting a completely arbitrary college exam trigger a panic attack? Shouldn't a traveler be, I don't know, above the trivial stress of a grading curve? Is it the physical location blocking them, or is it the stress?
That's a great question, but it assumes human psychology is separate from physics. In this story, they are identical.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. When an animal is under extreme stress, its brain enters survival mode. The amygdala takes over, and it narrows your focus to the immediate physical threat.
Which in her case is failing organic chem.
Exactly. That intense, narrowed focus acts as a powerful, localized observer effect. Her anxiety forces the quantum superposition of her abilities to collapse into a single, rigid, highly stressful classical timeline. She isn't above the stress. The stress is literally altering her physical capabilities.
Wow. It's like gravity. Like
Yeah.
Newton taught us that massive objects create gravity wells that warp the fabric of space-time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Here, the crushing anxiety of the modern education system is acting like a psychological black hole. The denser the stress gets, the more it literally freezes her ability to move through time.
That's a perfect way to put it. And Henry tries to help her break out of it, right?
Yeah, he tries to guide her to her mental safe place. She envisions it as this massive, shimmering golden web in endless darkness.
And that golden web is a visualization of neural pathways, but it's also the quantum field itself. It's the interconnected structure of space-time that she used to just pluck like strings.
But the psychological black hole is just too strong. The darkness around the web starts pressing in. She panics. She's calling out for Henry, for their friend Max, and for someone named Mr. Bell.
But no one answers.
Right, the fear overtakes her, the mental connection completely collapses, and she violently snaps awake to a snowy morning in her dorm.
And the mechanism of that collapse is crucial. In quantum mechanics, an environment interacting with a system causes what's called decoherence.
Incoherence.
Yeah, it's the loss of quantum behavior. Her fear is the internal environment causing her conscious wave function to decohere. She loses her connection to the infinite and is just trapped in the finite.
Which brings us to how this internal blockage interacts with the outside world. River goes through the motions, takes her organic chem exam in this strange state of numbness, and then meets Henry at a campus cafe.
And Henry is just sitting there casually reading a book on black holes.
Naturally. But their quiet decompression is totally shattered when their friend Max's room storms in. He steals Henry's food, drinks River's coffee, and immediately launches into this furious rant about his philosophy professor.
And then River casually refers to this highly agitated kid as the Keeper.
Right, the keeper.
The title of Keeper, juxtaposed with a student complaining about a mundane philosophy grade, is just a brilliant piece of character engineering. Max represents the societal observer.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Max is deeply skeptical of their past. He actually mocks them, suggesting that their memories of time travel are just a shared delusion or a dream.
Yeah, he's fully rejecting it.
He literally says, if you were smart enough to figure out why our consciousness can't handle time travel, I wouldn't have to study at all. So, is Max right? Did the rigid structure of the education system literally override their ability to imagine and traverse time?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Max serves the function of environmental decoherence in a social setting.
Oh, I see.
He represents the ultimate skeptic inside all of us. He's the voice that demands empirical, measurable proof in a reality that requires subjective, unshakable belief.
Because society trains us that reality is only what you can measure and grade.
Exactly. When you internalize that system, your consciousness shrinks to fit inside that highly restrictive box. Max is terrified that their supernatural past wasn't real, so he attacks the concept preemptively. He forces River and Henry to justify their existence using the very classical logic that is trapping them.
Man, that societal pressure is heavy. And it follows River straight into the library. We find her sitting there with another friend, Braden, who is completely checked out.
Yeah, he's just grinding away on Genshin Impact and smoking just to get to sleep.
Right. And River's trying to cram for a cell biology exam, just hitting a wall of objective facts, feeling entirely defeated. But then she absentmindedly pulls out an old notebook and finds this handwritten poem she doesn't even remember writing.
The poem is such a turning point.
It really is. It begins, "Oh, fickle time, a flowing stream, a phantom caught within a dream." And it ends with this direct challenge. Are you a circle, an endless thread, or just a concept within our head? Traveler, ponder, and do not stray. What is time, if not today?
The introduction of poetry here is the mechanical antidote to organic chemistry and cell biology.
How so? Because it's not factual.
Exactly. Poetry doesn't demand a single objective answer, it demands interpretation. The poem shifts River's brain state from trying to passively absorb rigid facts to actively generating subjective philosophical inquiry.
Wow.
She stops trying to pass a test and starts trying to solve the nature of her own existence. That intense curiosity is the spark that begins to reopen her quantum wave function.
And the shift in her behavior is immediate. She abandons the biology textbook completely. She opens her laptop and falls down this massive research rabbit hole, consuming academic papers on the physics of time and the philosophy of consciousness.
She's attempting to stitch logic and imagination back together.
Right. And she enters such a profound state of flow that she completely detaches from external reality. The next thing she knows, a librarian is tapping her shoulder, telling her it's midnight and the building is closing.
Notice the mechanism of what just happened there. By fully engaging her curiosity and detaching from her stress, she experienced a localized form of time dilation.
Oh, true.
Her internal clock basically decoupled from the external metronome of the library.
That's brilliant. So she packs up, walks out into a freezing, deserted campus. Snow is swirling, streetlights are flickering, and she's shivering, realizing she probably just failed her biology exam.
But then something catches her eye.
Yeah, as she walks through a less familiar part of campus, she spots a faint, warm light spilling out of a narrow alleyway. She follows it and finds an old, weathered sign swinging in the wind with faded gold letters, the Midnight Café.
And it looks completely out of place, right?
Totally. It looks like it belongs in a completely different century, resting on cobblestones that shouldn't even be there in a snowy college town.
The sensory shift from the clinical fluorescent lighting of the academic library to the warm, anachronistic glow of that cobblestone alley is profound. We're literally seeing the environment shift to match her internal state of reopened curiosity.
So she pushes open the heavy wooden door, and the interior immediately mirrors that bizarre prologue we talked about earlier.
The clocks and the smells.
Yes. Hanging above the counter is a large clock, but the hands are defying all logic. They tick forward, pause, and then tick backward. The air smells of fresh roasted coffee cut with that sharp metallic scent of ozone. She even spots an hourglass on a shelf where the sand is completely frozen in midair.
Which is amazing. The frozen sand and the erratic clock are visual confirmations that the classical laws of thermodynamics and entropy, which dictate that time only moves in one direction, have been suspended in this localized space.
Right. And behind the counter is Mr. Cronos. He's this older man with silver hair and a perfectly buttoned vest. He welcomes her, stating very clearly, no one just passes by the Midnight Café. It's a refuge for those lost in the labyrinth of time.
And how does River react?
Well, her brain is still partially tethered to her biology textbooks, so she immediately pushes back. She tells him that time is a physical dimension governed by absolute laws.
See, she is echoing Newton from the prologue.
Right.
She is defending the cage she has been trapped in because it is the only reality her recent education has actually validated.
But Mr. Cronos just chuckles at that. He challenges her foundational assumption. He asks, what if I told you time is also built by consciousness? As much yours to shape as it is the universe's to spin.
This raises an important question about the architecture of this universe. Cronos is proposing that human perception isn't just a passive camera recording the universe.
It's the projector.
Exactly. It is the projector emitting the universe. If time is built by consciousness, it means the timeline isn't a pre-written book you are reading. It is a blank canvas you are painting in real time.
And as River sits there grappling with this, a heavy book materializes on the table next to her. She didn't see Cronos move, it just appears.
Out of nowhere.
Right. It has a dark, shimmering cover, and the title reads, The Mechanics of Time and Consciousness. She opens the cover and reads the inscription. To understand time, one must first understand oneself.
And that inscription is essentially the operational manual for a traveler.
How so?
Well, if your mind generates the flow of time, you cannot control time without achieving total mastery over your own psychology.
That makes sense.
Your fears, your anxieties, your subconscious beliefs, like the stress of an exam, will constantly override your conscious desires unless you understand yourself completely.
So River asks who wrote this impossible book, and Cronos replies that it was written by an old traveler. He says some people believe it was a vanished physicist, while others think the creator of the universe wrote it.
Very mysterious.
Very. And realizing how late it is, River packs up her things. She pays for her coffee, grabs the heavy book, and heads for the door. As she leaves, Mr. Cronos calls out, "Good night, River."
But she never told him her name.
Exactly. She freezes. She steps out of the freezing alley, spins around to look back, and the cafe is gone, completely vanished. There is only empty snow and dark shadows.
And the sudden disappearance of the cafe forces us to reevaluate everything that just happened. It removes the safety net of physical geography.
So what does this all mean? We followed River from a state of total paralysis, crushed by the psychological black hole of college exams, to a profound reawakening.
A total shift in reality.
Right. Her intense midnight research session didn't just give her academic answers. Her sheer desire to understand time seemingly manifested an entirely new, localized reality in that snowy alleyway to deliver the exact tools she needed.
It's incredible to think about.
It really suggests that when you stop letting external pressures dictate your reality, your consciousness has the power to reshape the world around you.
Which is a powerful message for anyone listening.
Absolutely. Think about how that applies to you. How often do you let the ticking clock of artificial deadlines dictate your entire state of being? What if your perception of time is entirely subjective, stretching into agony when you are stressed? Or vanishing completely when you engage your deep curiosity in a state of flow?
It really forces you to question whether the limitations you feel daily are laws of physics or just habits of mind. But I actually want to leave you with one final, deeply unsettling mechanical question to consider.
Oh, I'm ready. What is it?
We know that River walked out of that alleyway holding the mechanics of time and consciousness. We know the book has physical weight, right? She felt it.
Yeah, she packed it in her bag.
But if the cafe, the ticking clock, and Mr. Cronos all evaporated into thin air the moment she turned around, what exactly is the physical nature of the object in her hands? If her intense state of inquiry generated the cafe, and the cafe produced the book, does that mean a sufficiently focused human thought possesses actual mass? Can human consciousness collapse a quantum wave function so violently that it weaves permanent heavy matter out of thin air?
Man, that is a concept that will definitely keep you awake tonight. Keep questioning the walls of your cage and never stop exploring the infinite mechanics of your own mind. We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.